Some breaking news for you now, and it's not good news. The Daily Telegraph say that the bodies found on the Sicily yacht include the British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch and his daughter, and they're citing the Sicily Civil Protection Chief. The rescue divers have recovered another 2 bodies from the super yacht as well that sank off Sicily earlier this week, and that makes 5 bodies in total found. That was 4 bodies recovered today, and we're just learning in these last few moments that includes the bodies of Mike Lynch and his daughter. The 5th body found in the early hours when the yacht went down was the chef of the yacht. 5 bodies now in total have been recovered. That means that 2 are still outstanding, and that search and rescue mission, as you can see, search and recovery mission now very much ongoing. 2 more unaccounted for. Now, joining us now is the meteorologist Jim Dale, who also served in the Royal Navy as forecaster to warn the captain of weather-related issues. Jim, welcome to the show. Under grim circumstances, the breaking news just in: Mike Lynch reported and his daughter are among 2 of the 4 bodies recovered today. Jim, in terms of the climate, the conditions, the tornado, how it would have impacted the ship, the information that's coming out now appears to show, being reported that the 2 bodies were recovered from, 2 of the bodies were recovered from the master bedroom of this craft. In terms of a tornado striking a craft like this, Jim, in your experience, it would have been a very, very rapid onslaught.
Yeah, good afternoon, Martin. There's a few things running here. First of all, in terms of my own side background, I do investigate occurrences like this for the police, for coroners and others as part of my day job. Little known, but that's what I do. I go to court and I try to explain these weather type situations, and obviously not involved in this one at this moment in time, but certainly this has got meteorology written all over it as far as the water spouts were concerned, because it was a water spout rather than a tornado. But a couple of clues for you here that are coming out now, and the first one of those is that the day itself, there was apparently reported something like 19 water spouts within the local area. Now, you know, if you're the captain of that particular yacht, if you're in charge of that yacht, you've got to be concerned with this. You've got to be concerned that this is a very unstable situation, and anchoring in a harbour out to sea slightly rather than in the port would have put them more at risk than being in the port itself. That's for sure. So that's the first thing to say. Now, the second thing to say in terms of the moment of impact, some of the people who survived, thankfully survived, seem to get an early warning in terms of the noise, in terms of the kerfuffle, if you like, the waves, etc., rearing up as this particular water spout came towards them. So thankfully they had their wits about them to get to the right position and to eventually survive. Those that are sadly being found in their cabins now obviously did not. Remember, this is early in the morning, so they would have been asleep more likely, and you know, you've got to act very quickly in these circumstances, and certainly with no degree of panic, because that's the last thing you need to do. So this is an unfortunate incident, but I'm going to use one word now that might be put forward in the future, and that is potential negligence, in terms of why that particular yacht was where it was in such an unstable weather situation.
And Jim, we just saw some incredible pictures of the sophisticated underwater drones that were deployed from the surface by a dive team, coupling with their mobile phone, as you know you can do for a drone that goes in the air, 50 metres of depth. They'd have been sent down to that vessel, the eyes and ears on the surface, sending them down. And at that point, we discovered, Jim, that once the vessel had been breached by force, we understand this morning, then the drone could go in, because of course there's a very, very short period, a 12 minutes window due to the compression effects on the divers where a human would be able to operate. So a real breakthrough in this recovery, Jim, would have been the deployment of those high-tech devices.
Yeah, we obviously modern technology has made this particular operation happen, and just by the fact you're actually saying divers can get 12 minutes. It's really sad to say, but what we're seeing at the moment in terms of the recovery of the bodies was almost inevitable. I know it's not the right thing to say until those bodies are actually recovered. But when I was in the Navy, and certain occurrences that I saw when bodies went, I say bodies, when people went into the water, whether they were contained in a boat, in an helicopter, or something else, your survival chances there diminished by the minute, never mind the hour. So 2.5 days later, we're into the position now where it's bodies that are being recovered rather than anything else, and that's the inevitability. But it's good that that they are being recovered. And the modern technology is actually working, because in my day in the Navy, that would not have been the case. It would have been a long haul, and perhaps some of those bodies would never have been found. We've been there before. The sea's a very dangerous place, and we've got to pay respect to it. I go back to where I started with this in terms of saying, yeah, maybe, and we'll find out when the investigation starts to occur, that the apparatus on the yacht itself, for example, would have been very good in terms of mapping the weather, what was going on. The question remains was it looked at? Was the radar looked at for these particular storms getting close to them? So questions remain.
But the point you're flagging there, Jim, is, in your experience, if it was your job, if it was your duty to be watching the weather, you'd be watching not just the local weather, but, as you said, the weather in the surrounding area throughout the entire 24 hours preceding. And you're saying to us that there were now 19 such waterspouts in the area, and you're saying that perhaps should have been a red flag to the captain.
Red flag. They would be taking local warnings if they existed. I believe they did, but again, for the investigation, so warnings. They will get their own weather feeds anyway. 4:30. 4 o'clock in the morning, it's a quiet time. You're in a sea that you don't necessarily expect, huge catastrophe type events of this nature. So I'm not saying that the captain actually said they didn't see it coming. I can believe that. It's dark and the rest of it. But what would have been seen would have been, if the radar would have been switched on, would have been the rainfall coming from that particular water spout. It would have shown an echo on the radar. There would have been other clues around. We saw what was happening in Porticello in terms of the CCTV and what that showed. Yes, these things happen very quickly. However, being in that position of that yacht, where it was at the time it was, given the backdrop of the very unstable weather situation, I think, as I say, questions may be asked going forward now.
And Jim, as you said there, in your experience from recovery in Royal Naval vessels, a lot of people still saying there was this slim scintilla of hope, but with such a period of time having elapsed from when the craft originally went down, you felt that would be a miracle at best.
Yeah, I think you're using the right word, Martin. Miracle, scintilla of hope. That you've got to cling to that hope, just in case. We've seen experiences in the past where that little drop of hope has actually come to fruition. But in this case, I've got to say, even after day one, I was doubting that they were going to find anybody at all. You almost put yourself in their position, and how horrible it must have been to be awoken with that. You wouldn't know what's going on, to be frank with you. If you're in a cabin, dark, your lights are off, etc., and all of a sudden you're hit virtually by a train. It's a shock, to say the least, and probably a shock that you can't necessarily recover from and gain your senses. In other words, to escape. It's thankful that those people that did escape managed to get themselves either on top of the yacht itself, or in a position at least where they could escape and swim. And hey presto, they did. So thankfully, in this case, some survivors. It could have been a lot worse.
Okay, thank you, Jim Dale, for that expert analysis. And just to recap there, 5 bodies have now been recovered from the super yacht, including that breaking news. 5 bodies on that yacht, including confirmation we just heard from the media, British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch and his daughter are 2 of those 5 bodies recovered.